Okay, so apparently I did not dress appropriately to be mic'd. Just get that out of the way. And I'm a bit faster of a talker, so I'll try to slow myself down this evening. Some people wonder how I got into this. I won't go into my business, but I am a former librarian that got involved in research, and this is kind of what I do for fun that turned into a business. So raise your hand if you have ever used Google search. Every single person in the room, right? All right, raise your hand if you have ever used the word Google, Googled, Googling as a verb. Right? I'm just going to Google that. Right? Every single person. That is not a bad thing. When I say this, I am an absolutely huge fan of Google. The purpose of my talk is to kind of broaden your horizons as far as information and explain to you exactly how much more information is out there if you expand your search beyond Google. So raise your hand if you are a small business owner. Okay? Raise your hand if you are or have ever been in charge of hiring. Okay? Raise your hand if you've ever purchased a home. How about investment property? How about have your own property and you handle the management of it? Okay, so those of you that do that know about that little over 25 rule, right? Ever wondered how to prove that somebody that's contacting you through VRBO is legitimately 25 or over? Now I'll go ahead and give a disclaimer here. I know there are some fantastic realtors in the room. I know you guys already know some of this stuff, so kudos to you. I'll bow down to that because I know. So just to kind of give you some information as to what is freely available out there. Raise your hand. I know some of the people in the room are going to say yes. If you can afford to hire your own human resources department. No? Most of us can't, right? We're on a budget. So you're going into business with somebody. You're trusting somebody with your money, right? Or potentially hiring them, and they're going to be in charge of important information, right? We're in the South. I'm a Southerner. Sometimes I don't sound like it. Sometimes we do business with a handshake, right? We trust. And sometimes that can get us into a lot of trouble. One of the things that we can do, we know somebody has been here locally for a long time, we can use the Bay County Clerk of Courts. Let me go ahead and stop there before I start throwing out web addresses and databases. If you are interested, I'll put my email address up here at the end. If you would like a list of all of the resources that I kind of throw out here in the next 15 minutes, shoot me an email. I promise not to solicit you with tons of information from me. I'll just shoot you the list of the things that I've talked about tonight. So if you have access to the Bay County Clerk of Court site, you have access to whether somebody has been arrested, convicted. You have access to whether they have financial liens. You can find out information, liens on property that way. Disclaimer there, tough financial times, just about a lot of the population has encountered financial difficulties. So if you're in charge of hiring, keep that in mind. Give somebody a chance to explain what's happened in their life. But, there's information there for you in the Bay County Clerk of Court. Same thing, Bay Property Appraiser. Realtors, raise your hands. Love that site, right? Lots of information. So last September, my husband and I decided to buy a rental unit. We'll tell you where. Maybe you'll figure it out after you use the Property Appraiser site. And believe it or not, I had been in this town back since 2000. Looked at my office mate and said, because we bought our house from the builder, and said, you know any realtors? I don't have one. And she told me somebody that she knew that I contacted. But, it was an introduction, that kind of thing. I kind of said, hey, we want to look at a unit, a property. But I did my own research. I went on Bay Property Appraiser, looked at different condominium units on the beach, determined which ones had been auctioned off on the courthouse steps, determined which ones had solid ownership bases, kind of made my decision from there. And this is a really horrible thing to add, but it was a foreclosure. And, sometimes people that are buying get really, really nervous about that. I actually discovered that it was somebody that I knew. They have no idea we bought it. But I actually felt better about making the purchase, right? I will never tell them that we bought it. But when I was looking at it, I thought, well, I actually know these people, and they're really ethical, and, you know, I know they wouldn't do anything, so I was good with purchasing it and moving ahead. A few other things. Those of you that are doing background checks for potential employees or might be renting and you need to know if they're over 25, Intellius.com. Anybody heard of that? Okay, Intellius will give you names, ages, potential family members. It might give you, I looked myself up, this is funny, and I'm actually just a participant in a board that's based in New Orleans, and it listed me as an employee and that I had lived in Louisiana. So you can't trust it completely, but if somebody tells you, you know, where they're from or where they've lived, and by the way, something I forgot to mention is by the time I'm done, every one of you is going to take your hand and put it over your name tag. Like, I do not want this woman to know who I am. I promise. I'm all about good, not about evil. It's just, you know, the more information that you have, the better informed business decisions that you can make, right? So Intellius will generally give you somebody's age. I know we all have Facebook. We go in there, we see a you know, family kind of makes us feel good, but we can kind of start with Intellius. Zabasearch. Anybody heard of Zabasearch? Right? Zabasearch gives us information. Kid you guys not. Last week I spent a week in Denver, Association of Independent Information Professionals, which is what I am now that I left the world of librarianship. One of the women that I absolutely look up to actually trains the CIA, the FBI, and the Secret Service on using the web to conduct internet investigations. She's just incredible and actually determined to follow in her footsteps at some point. We'll see. Yes, I did write these down because some of these are absolutely too long for me to remember. So the other thing is Sunbiz. You're looking at going into business with somebody? Sunbiz.org. Some of us bury property under, not that you'd ever go after somebody with an asset investigation, but in case you had to, some of us bury our property under LLCs. Some of us, for rental purposes, we bury them for liability reasons. I know I did. Protect myself, you know, from liability in that case. But Sunbiz is a wealth of information. It can tell you, you know, how many businesses has this person embarked on. That doesn't mean anything. There are some serious entrepreneurs, but it does give you crumbs that you can use, kind of connect the dots. You're trying to create a picture of this person that you might be investing a lot of money with, you know? And again, sometimes we just have to trust our personal instincts. If you truly believe this is an incredible person and you can discount all of this, then fine. You know, that's good. But if you'd like the tools to arm yourself, then all of these are good. Now, a few other things for those of you that might not be concerned about those areas. Anybody here ever had to terminate an employee? Anybody here ever had a less than friendly email from supposedly an anonymous source following that? No? You have? All right, I at least got one yes in this group. Do you know how to extract the header from an email? You do. Okay, so in Google, you go over there on your Gmail to the right-hand side where it says reply. Drop that down, get show original. Show original is going to give you the header. You go back to the very first IP address in that list, and you can go to maxmind.com, throw it in there. It will give you the latitude and longitude that email came from. Okay? Then you can go to Google Mapping. You can actually get. Now that sounds ridiculous in this small town, but if you were a larger company, you could pass on this information. If you were from a larger company, you could say, oh, you know what? I have an employee in that radius, right? So some of this is really kind of like, wow, why would she even look this stuff up? But I promise you that I may not have time tonight, but I'll continue on or do something else if you're ever curious about actually burying your information or redacting your information from databases, or even, not that you have a reason for this, but actually masking your IP address. When you're out there browsing, you are being tracked. We all know that. It's kind of scary when a lot of people think, oh, I'll just go create a Gmail or a Yahoo, send that email, that type of thing. That does not make you anonymous. Your IP address is sitting in that header. So I'll throw one in there. Tour Project will actually, no, I've never done it. I really haven't. But Tor Project will actually mask your IP address when you're out there doing things on the web. You might be 100% harmless, but you just do not want to be tracked. Tor, it will actually just remove it. It actually, what it does is it changes it so quickly that, that they can't track you. Do I have any photographers in the room? Okay. Have you ever looked at somebody's picture on the web and wondered what kind of camera they used? Or wondered maybe the type of conditions they took it under? I won't say the entire thing, but it's called Regex. Have you ever heard of it? And the actual program is EXIF. It's EXIF. If you have a picture out there on the internet, it cannot have gone through a social media site because they have agreements to strip metadata or information from pictures. But if you have a picture out there, you can throw it into this link. If GPS was turned on and this picture was taken with a cellular phone, you will actually get all of the location information, any filters, anything that was turned on when the photographer took this picture. It's absolutely incredible and actually kind of scary that when you took that picture, you didn't realize how much information somebody could extract from it. Have you ever wondered who's behind a website? Seen it around town, not sure who it is? I mean, we're kind of small, so we can just kind of ask, or we kind of get an idea. You can actually use domaintools.com or whois.com, whois, and type in a domain and figure out who is the person behind that particular website. Sometimes that's interesting information, maybe, if you need it, maybe not in small business. A couple of other things, these you might find more beneficial. How many people do I have who have a library card? The rest of you, why not? I'm just kidding. Actually, believe it or not, I was late to the e-reader revolution. I went to Italy on my daughter's senior trip last year and fell in love with my Kindle Fire. So even though I don't physically work there nor really enter the brick and mortar walls anymore, I do support the library system, and I just want to tell you about some things that business owners never seem to realize are available. If you have a library card, you never have to leave your computer. You can log into their databases, okay? NWRLS.com, for those of you that are local, go to research, go to databases, reference USA. I know we have an incredible chamber. They have a directory. Not everyone in a field is a member. Reference USA. You can put in zip codes. You can put in areas of business. I think it's something like 84 million records that are inside Reference USA. You might want to consider it. Same thing. Florida Electronic Library is free. They were trying to make it IP-based, but sometimes it requires a library card. These are free academic, sometimes databases paid for by your tax dollars in the state of Florida that you can access without ever walking into one of the Bay County Library locations. Okay? So just some things to think about. I'm going to tell one story just to kind of explain to you. I got 2 minutes left. Okay, so I'm not going to necessarily, well, I am going to tell the story because you need to know why it's important to track your reputation on the web. And I do actually, what's interesting is I do actually pay for an unlisted number. When I ran my husband through Intellius, he apparently gave it out somewhere because I was like, hey, wait a minute. So I'm going to make sure that's redacted. You can request to have your information removed from these free online databases. It's called reputation management. Those of you that run businesses want to manage your reputations out there on the web. That means, not saying anybody's going to do this, that means if somebody does, if you're planning to do things on the web that might affect you in a negative manner, do yourself a favor. Don't use the same email address that you're planning to go to. That you're using in your business, things like that. Knew somebody from high school, had a MySpace. My daughter is 18. I had a MySpace when she had one. Messaged me on MySpace, had a business. I said, oh, that's really neat. What's the name of your business? That person said, you'll never find out. Don't ever say that to me. Took their email address, I kid you not, took their email address, put it into a Google search. Yes, see, we're back to Google. Everybody loves Google. Let's just say it took me to a sexual preference board. And I don't mean their lifestyle. I mean like very, very, very kinky. Yes, I'm not joking. Everybody can laugh. So I actually, it was my preacher's son when I was younger. He doesn't live here anymore, so it gets funnier, right? So I actually thought, oh, he's going to be so mad. But I was like, he should probably know. So I sent him a message back, and it said, you're probably never going to speak to me again, but you did challenge me, and I am a librarian. And if you're going to post on public message boards about the things you'd like to be trained in, you might not want to use the same email address that you signed up for MySpace with. He never spoke to me again. But that's kind of a lesson in, all I did was take the person's email address, throw it into a search engine, and I could tell you a whole lot about what was in that message board posting. So that's a little bit about reputation management, and I'll stop right there.